The street was silent when I stepped outside. Only the faint glow of a flickering streetlight lit the narrow road. The air smelled of dust and cold stone. I wrapped my jacket tighter and walked forward. My footsteps echoed sharply in the stillness. Each step felt too loud, as if the night was listening. A stray dog barked far away, and the sound disappeared quickly. I kept walking with my head slightly lowered. Then I heard it, a second pair of footsteps. Soft, slow, perfectly matching my pace. I stopped. The footsteps behind me also stopped. A cold prickling sensation crawled up my neck. I turned my head slightly but saw nothing except shadows. I took another step. The footsteps returned. Closer this time. Too close. My heartbeat rose into my throat. The empty street felt smaller, tighter, as if something unseen had stepped inside my personal space. I forced myself to walk faster. My shoes tapped in a quick rhythm. The footsteps followed again, matching my speed exactly, not a second ahead or behind, as if someone was copying me perfectly. I glanced at the windows around me. They were all dark, every house asleep, every light off. There was no one who could help me. My breathing became uneven. The cold air filled my lungs with a sharp sting. I could almost feel someone right behind me, close enough to touch my shoulder. I turned again, quicker this time. Nothing. Only the trembling yellow light of the street lamp. Only the long stretch of road that seemed too empty. I tried to speak, but my voice refused to come out. My throat felt dry. My palms grew damp. The footsteps started again. Slow, deliberate, unmistakable. I moved toward the middle of the street, hoping to see clearly around me. The sound followed, always behind me, always just a breath away. For a moment, I felt warm air on the back of my neck. As if someone was standing right there, breathing gently, waiting patiently. I tried to steady my steps, but my legs trembled. The night seemed heavier. The silence seemed deeper. The air itself felt wrong. A faint whisper drifted through the cold breeze. It came from behind me, soft and low, like someone speaking through clenched teeth. I could not understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Someone was there. Someone who did not want to be seen. Someone who wanted me to keep walking. The footsteps grew louder, more defined. I felt the vibration through the ground. I glanced ahead. The street stretched endlessly before me. The darkness looked thicker, deeper, as if it was alive. I swallowed hard and forced myself forward. Each step became heavier, each breath more shallow. The sensation of being watched tightened around my shoulders. Then the sound changed. The footsteps behind me did not just follow. They began to accelerate. Fast. Too fast. Much faster than my own. They were closing the distance between us. And my body froze as I realized that whatever was following me was no longer trying to stay hidden. The sound of those rushing footsteps struck the pavement like heavy blows. Each impact felt closer than the last. My breath caught in my chest as a strange coldness wrapped itself around my spine. It felt as if the night itself was pushing me forward. I forced my legs to move, even though they felt like they were made of stone. I stumbled ahead with clumsy urgency. My footsteps were loud and uneven. The ones behind me were steady and powerful. They filled the empty street as if they belonged to something far larger than a human. My thoughts raced wildly. I imagined a figure towering behind me, its stride long and silent until it wished to be heard. The idea alone sent a tremor down my arms. A chill spread through my fingertips, numbing them as fear traveled deeper through my body. I reached an intersection where the road split in two directions. Both sides were equally dark. Both sides equally silent. Both sides equally dangerous. I hesitated, unsure which way to run. The footsteps behind me slowed. Then they stopped completely. The silence fell heavily over me, wrapping itself around my ears like thick cloth. I stood in the middle of the intersection, waiting for something, anything, to break the stillness. A faint crackling sound began behind me, like the soft grinding of teeth. Like someone was smiling too hard in the darkness. My skin tightened with dread. I stepped forward, and the sound grew louder. A warm exhale brushed the back of my neck. Not strong enough to move my hair, but enough to let me know something stood only inches away. My chest tightened painfully. My pulse hammered so hard that I could hear it in my ears. The air around me thickened with an unnatural heaviness. I turned my head slowly, terrified of what I might see. My vision met the empty street behind me. No figure, no shadow, nothing, but the warm breath had felt real. Real enough to leave a faint dampness on the back of my skin. I stepped away from that spot with shaky movements. My knees felt weak. The world around me seemed unsteady and blurred at the edges. The street stretched long and empty, yet I felt crowded. As if multiple unseen eyes were watching me from walls, windows, and the space right behind me. The ground beneath my feet trembled ever so slightly. I could not tell if it was real or if my body was reacting to fear. A distant humming began, low and vibrating. It sounded like a whisper spoken into the earth. The vibration traveled up through my feet and into my legs. Then the footsteps returned, not behind me this time. To my left, slow, dragging steps, like someone was walking with great effort. Each footfall landed with a hollow thud that echoed unnaturally. I turned my head, but the darkness was too deep to see anything clearly. The dragging steps came nearer. Closer. My heartbeat pounded so hard that it made my chest ache. The sound crept toward me, steady and determined. I moved backward instinctively. My shoes scraped lightly across the pavement. The dragging sound paused. Then it shifted. Now it came from my right. I spun quickly, fear clawing at my throat. Nothing. Only shadows that stretched unnaturally far from the dim streetlights. Shadows that seemed to move when I blinked. A cold gust brushed against my cheek. It felt like fingers. Long, thin fingers running across my face in a light, testing touch. My entire body stiffened. I tried to lift my arms, but a rush of panic paralyzed me. A faint sound rose behind me again. Breathing. Soft, steady breathing. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of it. Close enough that I could imagine lips near my ear. I wanted to run, but my muscles refused to respond. My legs trembled. My shoulders locked. The breathing grew louder and deeper. It filled the empty street with cold dread. Then the footsteps returned once more. This time they circled me. Heavy steps. Slow steps. Measured steps. As if something unseen was pacing around me, inspecting me from every angle. I felt a strange pressure on my back. Not a touch, but the sensation of presence. A presence that was far too close. A presence that felt patient and curious. A presence that did not want me to escape. My throat tightened so much that it was painful to swallow. Sweat rolled slowly down my spine despite the cold. My mind screamed at my body to move. To run. To do anything but stand there frozen. Finally, with all the strength I could gather, I forced myself to step away. One single step. The footsteps stopped instantly. The breathing went silent. The presence behind me pulled back slightly, as if surprised that I dared to move. I took another step, then another. My legs felt weak, but they obeyed. The silence stretched across the empty street like a tightrope. Every shift of air felt threatening. Every sound felt sharper than it should. As I reached the far end of the street, a faint scraping noise rose behind me. It sounded like nails dragging lightly across the pavement. Slow, long, deliberate. The sound followed my steps, echoing across the cold night. I walked faster, but the scraping remained steady. It followed me with perfect rhythm. As if something crawled behind me on all fours. As if something could see me even when I refused to look back. The streetlights flickered wildly above me. The glow dimmed and brightened as if reacting to the unseen presence. Shadows twisted and stretched unnaturally along the ground. My breath turned shallow and sharp. A rising panic spread through my chest. The scraping grew louder, more frantic, more eager. It sounded hungry, and when I dared to glance over my shoulder, I saw something at last. A shape, a dark shape crouched low on the pavement. Not standing, not walking, crawling. Its limbs were too long. Its movements were too smooth. Its head tilted slightly, as if studying me with curiosity. I could not breathe. I could not think. The shape shifted forward slowly, its body moving with unnatural silence. The only sound was the scraping of its fingers against the ground. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Not bright, but visible enough to freeze my blood. They watched me without blinking. They watched me with a hunger that felt ancient. I stumbled backward, terrified to turn my back fully on it. The creature lifted its head a little higher. Its mouth opened slowly, far too wide, far too silently, and the moment its jaw stretched open, the footsteps began again. Loud, fast, rushing toward me, as if something much larger was coming to join it. The rush of footsteps thundered toward me from the darkness. My lungs tightened until breathing became painful. The crouched creature lowered itself even closer to the ground. Its long fingers pressed against the street as if preparing to leap. My instincts screamed for escape. Yet my legs remained frozen, trembling under the weight of fear. The street behind me warped with shadows sliding over one another. Something enormous moved within that darkness. Its heavy steps shook the pavement with every strike. The creature on the ground tilted its head. It shifted backward slightly, almost as if making space. It was no longer the threat. It was waiting for something larger. Something that approached with steady, powerful steps. The figure in the darkness grew taller with every passing second. Not because it moved closer, but because it continued to rise. Its shape stretched upward, lifting far higher than any human frame. A faint red glow spread across its outline. My heartbeat hammered so violently that my vision blurred. The creature before me backed away slowly, dragging its fingers across the pavement. It lowered its head as if bowing. Not to me, to the towering silhouette behind it. The massive figure finally stepped into the light. Only half of it was visible, yet even that half felt impossible to comprehend. Its legs were long and thin, shaped like shadows stretched across the road. Its chest expanded slowly with each breath. The air around it vibrated with a deep, low hum. Then it stopped. The street fell silent again. The air became painfully still. The smaller creature crawled behind the giant shape, hiding within its shadow. The towering figure lowered its head toward me with slow precision. Its face did not exist. There were no eyes, no mouth, no features at all. Only darkness shaped into a human form. A faint pressure filled my head. A cold whisper entered my mind. It spoke, without sound, without breath, without language, yet I understood it clearly. Leave this street. Do not return. My legs finally responded. I stepped backward with shaking limbs. The towering figure did not move. It only watched me with its faceless presence. The smaller creature remained still within its shadow. I took another step, then another. The pressure inside my head eased with every bit of distance I created. The air became lighter. The shadows settled. The vibration faded. When I reached the end of the street, I turned fully and ran. My heartbeat roared inside my ears as I fled without looking back. I left the street behind me, the lights, the shadows, the towering figure, all swallowed by distance. Only when I reached the safety of my house did I stop. My chest ached from running. My breath came in ragged gasps. But I felt safe for the first time since the footsteps began. I closed the door and locked it with trembling hands. The silence inside my home felt warm and familiar. I leaned against the wall, trying to calm the storm inside my body. Then I heard it, one single step, right outside my door. Slow, heavy, deliberate. The vibration traveled through the floor and into my feet. A faint whisper filled the air again. A cold message curling into the edges of my mind. You left the street, but the street has followed you. The house lights flickered. The shadows behind me shifted. A chill spread across the room as the footsteps resumed. And I understood something with absolute clarity. The presence that followed me across the empty street was never tied to the road. It had chosen me. It had followed me home. The footsteps drew closer, closer still, and the final thing I heard before the lights went out was the slow, steady sound of breathing behind me. The same breathing that had begun everything. The same breathing that would never stop again.